And the title of our talk today is Ripples, the Art of Mindful Living. And it will be given by our wonderful Reverend Charlene. We are so glad that you took some time out of your day to join us. Sit back, relax, and if you have any prayer concerns or celebrations that you would like us to include later when we do our spiritual mind treatment, which is a form of affirmative prayer, please let us know about it. Post it in the chat, and Reverend Charlene will be sure to include it after her message when we go into our moment of prayer. All right, that's all I have to say to get things started. Like I said, just sit back, relax, you made it, and enjoy our official welcoming video. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be a service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly. And so it is. And so it is. And now it is time for our meditation. So, our title of our talk today is Mindful Living. So, in our meditation today, we're going to focus on mindfulness. So, let's begin. Sit back into your chair. Just relax your body. And as always, we're going to begin with some breathing exercises, but I'm going to change things up. If you're a regular, I'm going to do something just a little bit different. I tried this out myself this week and I like this. So I want to bring it to you and share it with you. So we're going to breathe in through our nose for a count of 5. We're going to hold it, and then we're going to sigh out of our mouth. And then we're going to do that a couple times, and I'll walk you through it. So breathe in through your nose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold and sigh. Let's do it again. Breathe in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Sigh. And one more time. Breathe in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Sigh. Now, through this meditation, you can keep doing that if you'd like, or just keep breathing, focusing on your breath. So, mindful living, going into the now, the present. This is what meditation is all about, right? Leaving yesterday behind, put it in a journal, put it in a diary, and let it just sit there. Every now and then, it's good to take a look into our journals, our diaries, and reflect on the lessons that we've learned, the growth that we've had, but we don't want to live in yesterdays. We don't want to live in the past. And then there's tomorrow. Sometimes we get anxious thinking about what lies ahead. What will tomorrow bring? So for now, we're going to just take tomorrow and put it in a little box and shove it aside. But keep in mind, every now and then, we don't want to ignore tomorrow, those items in that box. It's good to peek in there and use whatever's waiting there or to create what is ever there. What do you want to see in that box the next time that you open it? But that's tomorrow. Today, for this meditation, we're just going to focus on the now, the present moment. So as you continue to breathe, I'm going to guide you through kind of a body scan. What is your state of being at this moment? And as I walk you through, try to stay just in the now. Don't think about how your back was hurting yesterday or worry about the exercises that you have to do later on today. Just really going into what is my current state of being. Somebody says, how are you? That's what we're going to do. But we're not just going to give that automatic answer, fine. We're going to go into the now. What is my current state of being? What is my current state of being? And this is where I'm going to just kind of guide you through, starting with the top of your head, moving down to your throat, your shoulders, your chest and your back, your hips, your thighs, your knees, ankles, your toes. How are you feeling? Are you present? Are you in the now? Meditation is like hitting the pause button. We're so busy, you can go into this meditation anytime that you find that you need to pause. You're thinking too much about yesterday, the past. You're worrying too much about tomorrow, the future. Just take a moment, do that little breathing exercise, breathing in through your nose to the count of 5, and then sigh to release it. And that just brings you back to the now. And with that, now it's time to have some music.
Sometimes in our lives, we needs that you don't let show. So just call on your siblings when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load that you have to bear, that you can't carry, I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. You just call all me loved ones when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gone. Somebody to lean on. Just call me if you need a friend. Call me. I hope you will call me.
Woo! So good. So good. Yes, I see clapping hands in the Zoom. Man, that was a great song. And Tamara, thank you for that mindfulness meditation and the beautiful opening. You're always so great at that. Welcome to the Ripples Talk. And I love the Ripples Talk, but before I jump into that, I must tell you that on my walks, walks with dogs, the spiritual opening and revelations of Charlene. It's a blog. It's just waiting to be written. I was thinking about the birds. You know how the birds fly, ducks, or whatever type of migratory fowl that you might think about. They fly in that V formation. And studies have shown that the front one is in the front for a while, but then it hangs back and gets in the back, and they rotate who's leading so that one bird is not taking on all the physics, because it's all about physics and distribution of airflow. So whoever's in the front gets the most nose winds, and they get tired. So they swap out, and another one takes the lead. So when Leah was singing Lean On Me, of course I thought about our community. Of course I thought about how when I'm having feelings of, oh no, I don't know, I could call Tamara, and she's like, well, I can know that for you until you can know it for yourself. And this is what we do. We take turns getting in the front and holding that space. And this song, Lean On Me, if you could help me. If you have something I can borrow, can I borrow yours? Because my faith is, I'm kind of out of faith. Can I borrow yours? And we have a community that says, I'll hold that for you. I'll know that for you if you can't know it for yourself. So welcome to CSL Leesburg, our community of loving people who, yes, we lean on each other in good times and in bad. Let's talk about those times, though. The ripples, the art of mindful living. Interestingly, do you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow, February 17th, somebody might say, oh, I know what it is. It's President's Day. You would be right, but that's not what I'm about to talk about. It is Random Acts of Kindness Day. Random Acts of Kindness Day. There's a day for that? Yes. Now, Random Acts of Kindness Day, celebrated annually on February 17th. People are encouraged to perform simple, thoughtful actions. Random Acts of Kindness Day was first started in Denver in 1995 by a small nonprofit organization. Guess what its name is? The Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. The day is not just about grand gestures, it's about making kindness a regular part of daily life, creating a culture of compassion that spreads from person to person, ripples. Kindness has been shown to reduce stress, improve mood, and strengthen relationships. Shout out to kindness. Some ways to celebrate the day include paying it forward by buying someone's coffee or meal anonymously. You get extra points for anonymously. Send a kind message to a friend or family member to brighten their day. Or, how about this? Volunteer your time at a local charity, an animal shelter, or a food bank to help somebody in need. Or, listen, show appreciation. Simply write a thank you note to somebody who has made a positive impact in your life. That is your random act of kindness. That if we do something like that tomorrow, then isn't it true that our acts just on a single day would ripple out and change the entire world? Because that's what we're here for, to make the world a better place. And compassion, I feel like we need a lot of that right now. Compassion is seeing the other as not necessarily other than you. It starts with, it can be rooted in an awareness that we are all one, but it doesn't have to start there. It could be that some of us don't really get there that way. Some people get to compassion the other way, where they don't realize that we're all one until someone else performs an act of kindness, sees them, or does any of those small things that we talked about before, and then it kind of dawns on them. They get there because they were brought in. Well, some people start that way and bring everybody in. I don't care how you get here. Just get to compassion. And I know it's a moment by moment practice. It is not it's not a destination. It's definitely a journey. So this whole talk starts with a affirmation that I want you just to take in. I am ever mindful of the ways my life force ripples out into the world. I am ever mindful of the ways my life force ripples out into the world. And I do these rippling hands because it's so nice to be able to gesture to kind of bring up the real embodied feeling of ripple effect. And no one is a better example of the ripple effect in action than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. There was a time he marched down the street in downtown Chicago against the Vietnam War back in 1967. So I was here, but I didn't know what was going on. I was just 4 years old. Don't do the math. It's fine. But he and Thich Nhat Hanh met, and they did so under the banner in English and Vietnamese. And they walked down the street in Chicago, and it read, "Men are not our enemies. If we kill men, with whom shall we live?" And think about this wartime. People's children, teens in early 20s, males, were being shipped off to a war, danger, just put in harm's way, at front lines, to kill the enemy. And he's like, dude, if we all try to, first of all, there's no enemy, and second of all, if we keep ending people, there will be no people left. So it's not other people that are the enemy. Instead, it's the enemies that we actually fight on a daily basis are anger, resentment, hatred, fear, and discrimination, which is born out of all the previous four. And so really by the two of them, Dr. Martin Luther King here, Thich Nhat Hanh, or otherwise known as Thai there, they came to a core realization, you know what? People need to love each other more. There needs to be more compassion. And let's work on that part. Because the path, it says, of not hating the enemy, this is a spiritual practice. This is what they came to understand. Now, it's true. Thich Nhat Hanh, Buddhists, and Dr. Martin Luther King, Methodist, Reverend, maybe Baptist, anyway, Christian. But knowing that underneath both of these traditions lie a spiritual undertaking that's bigger than any conflict or warful kind of energy. So meditation from the Buddhist side, and maybe prayer and contemplation, what traditional Baptists might call it. However, these days, even the staunch Christians are coming around to, oh, meditation, actually, that's not a bad thing. It's just contemplating your connection with the divine. What could be wrong with that? They're coming around to it. You might have to call it mindfulness first, because it's like a little starter meditation thing, like Tamara was taking us through. Whatever you can do to get your energy to be in tune with something bigger than what appears to be the truth, then you're on your way to seeing the world as love sees the world, as life sees the world, as God sees the world. What do you call that presence? It's not looking at enemies, that's for sure. It's looking at something different. And so we train in this way of seeing so that we can confront injustice without hate. Now, we're not saying sit down and just let the injustice happen and gotta love them, those people who are persecuting. No, we don't have to love that behavior, but we don't have to, we can confront without the hate part of it driving us. And if we do this, we're bringing in and we're sort of building out this spiritual dimension about ourselves. Again, I don't care what flavor it takes. The spiritual connection is what informs our spiritual dimension. It's what connects us to something bigger than all of us. And when we come from that, there is no hate. There might be concern, but it's not, I hate you. And so that just means all sides of any conflict has access to the one. So there's no longer the idea of, well, these are godless beings, let's just smite them from the earth. No. When you realize that we're all one, the other side, so to speak, is not devoid of all things holy. They too are part of the divine. Now we have to listen a little more. We have to be a little more curious about what makes our points of view so different. Is there a way we can find a middle ground? So that means we turn towards a God or a sort of being that does not lead with smite your enemies. That's not a good role model in a tradition. And it does, so it's more a God of non-discrimination, a God of love, a God of tolerance, a God of something higher than our base human responses and reactions. So, in Science of Mind, how does this relate to the teaching that we all study together today? Well, you listen to Ernest Holmes tell it. He says, of course, our thoughts create our reality. Therefore, what you pay attention to is actually becoming more and more real. Now, of course, the psychologists who are not bound to any particular spiritual tradition, they'll just say, that's called attention bias. You pay attention to, or confirmation bias, you pay attention to those things that confirm your existing bias. And you're actually not likely to even see anything that conflicts with your current beliefs. And they've done a ton of studies. You probably have giggled to see some of the videos about how two types of people can look at the same scene and come away with completely different information, completely opposite. I remember back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there was a whole, is it a blue dress or is it a yellow dress on the internet? And there was like, depending on your eyeballs, you saw blue or you saw yellow. And it was so curious to me how both sides of the argument were so vehemently right, and they made the other people so wrong. No one, in sort of the virality of this meme, no one said, let's take a measured approach and try to figure out why. No, that doesn't get a whole lot of clicks. A measured approach? Well, that's not going to go viral. You got to have the hardest lined approach on both sides. Let's get them in a room and watch them box it out. That's more interesting. And so these things go. So if you look at that as a metaphor, you have to ask yourself, now, and I know the dress thing had more to do with how many rods and cones you had in your eyeballs. They came up with some real scientific reason. But let's talk about those unconscious biases that are just societally based. Those kind of hidden beliefs that we're kind of running on because we were baked in this crust, in this pie crust of earth that said biases are these things, and we grew up with them. We were baked in them. We were stewed in them when we were kids, and we've just started to think that that's just the truth. These are facts, unless you start examining them. And in fact, you can't change the outside world, but what we can change is our perception of it. And so when Tamara took us through that meditation and she had us breathing, she actually said this thing, and I know we don't talk ahead of time. I don't give her some of my talk and say this part. But when she said, when someone asks you how you're doing, don't just robotically say, I'm fine. No, take that. Get in touch with the truth about you. Feel where you are in this current moment, which is different from the last moment, and which is not predictable the next moment. Get into it. And then respond from there. And just doing that one thing will change your life. But what if we took it one step intentionally further? Intentionally. So what if we actually got curious about every time we made a snap decision? What if we did? Now, because listen, if you hear this at CSL a lot, we're creating a world that works for all, but you have to next ask the question, what does that mean? Now, what if you asked yourself every time you had a snap decision or a snap judgment about something, if you stopped and said, what story am I telling myself about that thing that I'm looking at? And because historians will tell you, whoever wins the last conflict gets to rewrite history, and they write the history that is very flattering to themselves. This is why when we all grew up, we didn't learn that the Pilgrims might not have just, as soon as they saw the Mayflower, they might not have just laid out a blanket and said, let's share the bread with you. They might have had a little bit of resistance, with a little help of the smallpox blankets and a little genocide, sprinkled about. And then they might have grabbed some natives and forced them to show them. Perhaps that the story was they landed on Plymouth Rock on the Mayflower, and then they had a picnic, and now we have Thanksgiving. So of course they're going to tell that part of that story because they reshaped it a bit. But it's a story nonetheless. Stories are very, 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 very powerful, and we tell ourselves stories all the time. So I'm not suggesting that you take all the stories you've ever told yourself and toss them out, because you'll be throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Not a good idea. Especially the baby would disagree with that whole method of throwing everything out. There's some good stuff. Embrace the stories that help you evolve on your spiritual journey, and examine the ones that don't hold up to your line of questioning. What kind of questioning might you ask? Well, all right. You could ask the question of not necessarily is it true or false. What you could do is look at if the story tends to stereotype people. Is the story a shortcut to a quick judgment on whether somebody's good or bad? And, we love a story with good or bad. If you could give me Little Red Riding Hood, clearly good, and give me a wolf, clearly bad, and then put it together in a story, it's awesome because it's clear. The good one, the bad one, the hero. The ending of that story, depending on which one you read, some of the endings are really dark. I'm just here to tell you, some of these fairy tales, why? Why are we teaching our kids this? But I digress. So look at the story and try to decide, is it attempting to give people an excuse to lump everybody in a group and stick them in a corner so you can feel okay about maybe you're oppressing them? I can go way back and tell you how they told themselves stories about why Africans were okay to enslave because they don't really have souls and they're savages. Or I can refer to a very recent phenomenon that said, all the immigrants who are anything darker than, I don't know, peachy, pale white, they're all murderers and rapists, and they're probably going to steal from you and kill you. Like, it's a constant story. These are the stories I would like us all to question, because any story that would attempt to take someone's full and rich life, their experience, their whole isness, and boil it down to, they're bad people. I need us to question, pluck that out, and ask. Be open to another approach. And so there is a quote from Parker Palmer, who wrote a book called A Hidden Wholeness. He says, because our stories make us vulnerable to being fixed, exploited, dismissed, or ignored. I love that. Fixed. Fixed, like you can never grow bigger than the box I put you in. Fixed. Not fixed like you need repair, although that's probably true too. But trust me, nobody's trying to repair you. They want you to stay in the box, all broken and stuff. All right, back to the book. We've learned to tell them guardedly or not at all. We've learned to tell these stories guardedly or don't tell them at all. Neighbors, co-workers, and even family members can live side by side for years without learning much about each other's lives. Because the people who you're living with and working with are afraid. They're guarded. They're guarded. They don't want to tell you their story because you might fix them, put them in a box. You might exploit them because of their story. You might dismiss them or you might ignore them. So they're just like, ooh, nothing to see here. Keep it moving. Don't show any emotions. People you live with, people you work with, people in your own family, not willing to tell their real story. So he goes on to say, as a result, we lose something of great value. For the more we know about another story, the harder it is to hate or harm that person. So we're fighting the overall story that culture is telling us about a particular group. And we're opening ourselves up to a conversation, a one-on-one. We become personal friends with or acquaintances with someone. And we realize, oh my gosh, we're so similar. I have that. I did that. That happens to me. And we can find places to connect where normally we would have just said, that type of person, not my type of person. I do not see you. You do not exist. Which, by the way, is the height of racism out here in this Manassas, Virginia. And notice how I said I had a little accent when I said Manassas, Virginia. There are some people in this town who just don't, they decide that if you're dark skinned like I am, darker than them at least, they just don't see you. And I was trying to point out to Blake one time, we were sitting at a restaurant and a group of family, there must have been 20 of these people, and they were all shoving tables together at this newly built restaurant. It's like 2016. And Blake and I were sitting at a two-top that was going to be in the middle of everything they needed. Or could have, anyway, our space could be used. So I was trying to make eye contact with this woman who sat next to me waiting for their table to get arranged. Trying to make eye contact like, we're going to be leaving. She was like, I don't see you. And I was like, what the heck? I'm trying to like smell myself, smell my breath. You could see me, right? I'm here, right? And I'm like this, and she just don't see me. She don't see me, though. What happened? Oh, well, they just don't talk to these kinds. I'm sure they have a group that's very just encompassed in a little corner, and they just don't see, and they don't acknowledge the presence of others. And I remember pulling over the waitress. I called her over. The waitress of that group was about to help them, and she's a black girl. I was like, girl. And she's like, thank you. I'm like, just not help you out. Anyway, it's not overt. What I'm trying to say. There's stories that are going in somebody's mind has nothing to do with me, myself, my story, who I am, because that's not even seen. What they stopped at was outsides. They think they already know my answer. They think they already know my situation. Put me in a box, close the lid, don't look. Which was the conversation I had with Blake on the way home. It has nothing to do with us. It affects us if we let it, but it has nothing to do with who we really are. And oh my gosh, the joy when someone does see you. When someone says, how are you today? And you do take Tamara's suggestion and you go, actually am kind of brokenhearted. We're going to bury my friend Larry on Thursday. Now, this is a vulnerable moment. Now, I'm not probably going to say that to the checkout cashier at the Safeway, but if a friend of mine that I work with sees me on the online and we're chatting before the class starts, I'm going to do that. And how she responds will be up to her. How they respond will be up to them. And we are going to show up more fully ourselves so that we could start this ripple effect. Yes, we're going to do kind things, but we're also going to be real, because this world doesn't work if everybody's isolated from each other. It just doesn't work. Even those trees in the forest that look like they're standing tall and strong and separate from each other, they are all connected at the roots. There's a root network that informs all of the trees, what's going on with each of the trees, and they help each other with nutrition. So this is no different from our community. Yes, we're all over the world. Tamara was enumerating all the different places earlier when we were on the pre-game, as they call it. And she's like, yeah, we've got people in Germany. We've got Jules in Tahiti. We've got Aaron, and I don't want to give everybody's business. Just know that everybody's in different places all over the world. And we connect as a community together, and we share the root system of Science of Mind. We give each other nourishment when we need it. When I don't have enough, I borrow from you. And when you've got needs, we give to you. We all come together consistently on a consistent basis, and we are whole. We're becoming more and more whole together. This is how it works. So your homework then, as I close, because it's already over, we're seeking to free ourselves from all of our hidden beliefs. We're going to go to different websites. There's one, implicit.harvard.edu. I'll put it in the chat, but implicit.harvard.edu. Go in there and think. I think the trailing URL piece is implicit. You could take a quick quiz that lets you know, where are your implicit biases? A lot of us think, oh, I don't have any. Trust me, we all have some. It's an ongoing spiritual practice to pluck out these biases. So go to that place, implicit.harvard.edu. You might have to put a /implicit at the end of that, and find out just how far along have you come, and how much more do you have to go. Because we're cultivating freedom together, but also individually. All right, let's go within, and just knowing that we are one being, just all replicated out differently. We have one core essence replicated out, with each and every one of us being our own unique emanation of that one, which means we get to be just as fabulous as we are inspired to be in any given moment. Alternatively, we also get permission to simply, today I'm not feeling fabulous, today I'm just going to cocoon. That's okay too. Knowing that whatever we are guided to do is right on time. So this oneness, this energy that we're all connected, and we couldn't be separate from if we tried to be separate from it. It is in, through, and as each and every being. It is in this field of connection that I speak my word, that all the unfolding that we require, anything we need, is right here at hand. Anything we're seeking is also seeking us. And I know that we're blessed. Our hands are blessed. Our minds are open. And as we look to this next week, we offer random acts of kindness to anyone, everyone that we can think of, knowing that that change is beginning to take its effect in the world. I'm so grateful to be able to speak this word of encouragement and word of truth. And I simply am just gratitude. I release my word into the law that says yes. I let it go, I let it be, and so it is. Ashe. And now for another song from Leah.
Let everything you do be done in love. Let everything you do be done in love. Wake in love, rise in love, brand new day, back in love, eat in love, greet in love, be still in love. Let everything you do be done in love. Let everything you do be done in love. Let everything you do be done in love. Be done in love. Let everything you do be done in love. Be done in love. Walk in love, talk in love, brand new face, back in love, sing in love, dance in love, be still in love. Let everything you do be done 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 in love. Let it be done in love. Let it be done in love.
Absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness. And the thought crossed my mind, did she record that on Valentine's Day on Friday?
Maybe.
And Charlene, I got to share this real quick. I was watching your face because we were both, every time a new Leah appeared, we went, what? It's another one. Oh my goodness. Folks, it is well worth the price of admission, let me tell you. All right, now is the time when we bless the donations. Interesting little segue there I just had. We believe in the law of circulation, like you just heard in our opening video. So we know that as we give, so shall we receive. We so appreciate your donations. You on Sundays when we make these videos, when we bring the message to you and the music and the meditation, it's all because of you, and it ripples out because we look for other organizations that are helping to make a world that creates for everyone, as well as giving to our home organization, CSL. No matter how you're giving, take that, place it across your heart, and join me in the blessing of our gifts. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. And so it is. Speaking of ripples, there's no better statement about ripples. All right, let's see what announcements we have. Dream Study, always, always, always. Their next meeting will be on February 22nd. Join Charlene and her friends as they explore their dreams. You come, you share your dreams. They'll help you interpret them. You'll listen to others' dreams and how they interpret. And it's just a wonderful way to get together on a Saturday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Dream Study. And I thought that was it. So stay if you can. We do something called Pearls, where we reflect on the message or the music or the meditation. We share any good movies. We share any good books. We share any inspiration, any concern, anything that's going on with us. This is kind of like our coffee hour. So if you can, please stay. If you can't, please know that we send you off with our blessings after we do our closing affirmation. You ready to join me? Unmute. I'm watching my screen. Here we go. Yes, thank you so much. See, I gave you a little pause to get into the now. I want to hear you. You ready? So put your hands over, just around yourself. Just wrap yourself in embrace and remind yourself, I am love. Here we go. Ready? I am love. Thank you so much. Now, think of someone who needs this message. It could be somebody who's in the room with you, a friend, a family member, a furry companion, or with our radical interconnection, we know that we can just send this out. It can go across the miles. It can travel around the world if necessary. So join me in saying, You are loved.
You are loved.
Nice, nice. Now put your hands up in the air for some love sprinkles. Like Leah just saying, and everything you do, it's all love. You ready? It's all
all
It's
love.
all
love.
love.
It's all love. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you can, please stay. And if you can't, know that we send you off with love and with our blessings. Have a marvelous week.